Hi, I'm Grey Tiger, and welcome to an unusual stream. Now, most of my stuff is either gameplay, which is, of course, unscripted, or lore or news videos, which I script completely before I create and publish. So I'm not used to speaking off the cuff, as it were. So this might get a little messy. But I'll try my best to keep my thoughts coherent. So I'll just say hi to everybody that's coming in. So Double X Big Double X 420. Hey, how you going, mate? Hello to Glavenus Maximus, and hello to Curtis Newman Jr., who says, "I would say this map discussion is about to be delicious." Is that an ogre pun? If it is, it's a pretty good one. I hope it's interesting, at least. Hello, Dan Field. How are you? Clap my hands. Yep. Hello. How are you going? And hello to anybody else who's out there. So I do have a few thoughts jotted down. As I said, I'm going to try and keep this coherent, and I won't babble on for too long. He's got layers. Yes, I have layers. I have thoughts, and the only way to keep them in line was to have layers, and my notepad, which is in front of me. So, brief overview. There are, I think, 3 or 4 things that I'm going to touch on. So the first is my initial reaction when I saw the map. And we'll come to that in a moment. The second one was what the hell is behind that sticker, or in this case, the blank space. Thirdly, if this map doesn't change, what race packs can we expect? And finally, I thought we could go through together on who might we see cropping up from the existing races and what areas of the map might they appear in. So, I guess we'll start off with my issues or my concerns with the map. Double X Big Double X 420, he's going to stay disappointed. You mean as in there won't be any expansions out to the east? Glavenus, you're more than welcome, mate, to lay out what your thoughts are. I'm very eager to hear what everybody thinks about this map. I'll go into what my initial thoughts were. So when I first saw this, of course, like everybody else, I'm assuming like everybody else, my eye was drawn to, oh my god, we got the Chaos Realms on the physical map. Because I was expecting that there would be something separate, like we saw with Empire Total War. So I was expecting that we would have portals dotted throughout the Chaos Wastes, which would allow us to jump in to the different realms of chaos. I wasn't expecting to actually see them on the main map itself. So that was a bit of a surprise, but my eye was immediately drawn to them. And then as I started to look down and around, and I went, hang on, this doesn't look quite right. So that moves me on to what my main issues are with this thing. I think too much space has been dedicated to the Game 1 races. So if we jump to one of my layers, I figure that we've got about little over a quarter of the map has been dedicated to Game 1 races. Now, I know that Kislev falls within. Let's just create a new layer for Kislev. I forgot to add them in. I forgot about Kislev. How could I have forgotten about them? Let's give Kislev a blue color. Okay, Kislev. Somewhere about there. Give them a K. You get to see my fantastic writing ability with a mouse. This is bloody tricky. There we go. Kislev. So apart from Kislev, I mean, there's a lot of the map which has been dedicated to the Game 1 races. Whoa, chat's flying by. Let's have a look. Sorry, what did say? Also thought that I assumed them... sorry. Double X Big Double X, I assume the map would have a little bit more to the east, as did I. Glavenus Maximus, I really like that the Chaos Realms are represented on the map. It'll be sick to see the gods squabble amongst each other and the Order races invade into them. Yes, I'm very happy to see the Chaos Realms on the map, especially the western portion. I'm just going to pull up one of the army books. So we got the Chaos Warriors army book here. So I've noticed that a lot of these named sections you can see on the map. So if we look at, where is it? So the Bloodfire Falls here. If I zoom in actually a little bit. So the Bloodfire Falls here, we can actually see on the map here. You can just make out that that says Bloodfire Falls. Well, I'm probably going to have to zoom in. Yeah, so very blurry, but Bloodfire Falls is there. So we've also got the Plane of Illusions. Now if you look at the original map for the Plane of Illusions, it's on there. But instead of being just to the right and down, it's actually to the right and up. So we've got the Plane of Illusions over here. So the distortion on the map doesn't make sense completely. In some places it's like it's been squished together. In other places it's like it's been pulled apart. And in other places it's like it's been tilted to a 45-degree angle. But in other places it's like it's been tilted the opposite direction. So I don't know what to make of how they went about designing this map. But it is nice to see that we do have sections of the Chaos Wastes, named sections in there. So it'll be interesting to see if we get features like the Monolith of Lothar Bubonicus, who I did a video on a few months ago. It'd be nice to see if we actually get unique fortresses for the Writhing Fortress, or the Howling Citadel, or the Folly of Malefax. Unique battle maps, that would be bloody fantastic. Don't know if we'll see them off the bat, but maybe down the line, who knows. Let's go back to the map, and let's just zoom back out. Go to 100% out. Yep, okay. I'll just read some of the comments out. So, Double X Big Double X, I agree with you there. It's too much dedicated area to game on races. I want to see the new races. I want new experiences. Most certainly. Glavenus, I hope that they expand the map eastward, especially Cathay and the Northern Steppes. Oh, yeah, in this case we have the Northern Steppe, don't we? So that was one of the points I'll get to later. I think Muramasa S. I think the map will have a globe feel, especially when mortal empires will be included and the Chaos Realms will most likely not be accessible. On the Game 3 Mortal Empires, I'm hoping it's more along the lines of Game 2, just with a large expansion to the east, and fingers crossed a large expansion to the south as well, because I would love to get Koresh, and I would like the whole of the Southlands, and I'm not greedy, but I would also like to have oh damn, one of those two citadels that the High Elves have. I did a bloody video on it. Oh, it'll come to me. Let's see. The SMA, are you for or against the possibility of being able to circumnavigate the globe in Mortal Empires? Thinking Civ. I don't think they've got the technology to make it, you know, a proper globe where it spins around. Well, not spins around, but I think if they were to do that, we're going to see something like we saw with Empire, where you'd have zones where you'd go into a zone and you'd appear on the opposite end of the map. I think that's all we can probably expect if they do stretch it out that far. Double X Big Double X, I argue that they will not do a globe because they don't know how. Yeah, I think the engine doesn't handle it. Although, who knows what improvements they made. Glavenus is repeating himself. It's Cathay is way too small on this map. Yes, most certainly. Cathay is tiny. Hello, Sharaf Balboa, sorry. I really hope the Chaos Realms also get their place in the new Mortal Empires map, to be honest. Yes, actually, they would have to also expand the map northwards. So the only direction that the Mortal Empire's map would not have to expand would be westward. Although it would be nice to expand a little bit westward, just so that that Tomb King doesn't start with half of a region. I always found it odd that he starts right on the edge of the map like that. This itty bitty little schnitz, says double X, big double X. Okay. Alright, my thoughts. I'm losing my thoughts. Oh, Glavenus, another thing. I personally would be okay with Ind and Koresh being included geographically if they are filled up with races other than peoples of Ind and the Koresh themselves. You mean for the time being? Yeah. I've got a feeling that they did the map this way because they don't want to do Ind and Koresh. Ind and Koresh are much like Cathay in that there's very little known about them, and there's a lot of work they would have to do. And I don't know if Games Workshop have any intention of creating those as races for their new relaunch of the old world. And if they don't have any intention, then I don't think they would have given CA permission, at least at this stage, to go ahead and create them themselves. Because Games Workshop might be using Cathay as a sort of litmus test. So when they release their models for Cathay, if they do well, we might see that they want to then do Ind or Koresh, which might then further down the line lead to an expansion of the map. Bit of a theory. I don't know whether it's on the money or way off. Glavenus, nothing I'd personally be okay with in Koresh. No, did that one happened with Araby? Ah, yes, Arab. I'm still disappointed that they're not going to do Araby. Walter, hello Walter, how you going? I wish that they'd made, I'll start again. I wish that they'd made the Realm of Chaos its own map connected via waypoints. They did that way back in Empire. Yeah, I was saying that a few minutes ago, that I was expecting that you'd have portals, which would be your waypoints, and then it would be separate. So that was a bit of a surprise. That would give us breathing room for the eastern regions. Yes, they certainly need breathing room. Glavenus, because I don't foresee Ind and Koresh coming as races, but would like to see the eastern coast of Cathay, and one needs to come with the other. Yes. I would not say Cathay is tiny, says Oni Tuko. It's literally 1/8 of the map. It's not tiny by any means. It's just smaller than it should be. Or at least it feels smaller than it should be. Sheriff Balboa, yeah, wouldn't hold my breath for Ind, Koresh, Nippon, or the likes. I would take it, but much rather have a way for the races in the west to get to the east without crossing the whole map. When it comes to the Mortal Empires, that will be an issue, I guess, if they don't have some sort of wraparound portal mechanic. God, me too, says Glaminus. Okay, Oni Tuko, there will be 7 new races at the start. They all can't have entire 1/8 of the map. No, of course not. What about hobgoblins? Yes, I hope they come. Alright, I think I've caught up with chat. Or have I not? I have. Alright, cool. So, my issues. Alright. So, the first one was, I think too much room has been taken up by the Game 1 races. Now, I know that Kislev is lumped in the middle of, well, not the middle, but the top right-hand section of there. But I'm surprised to see so much given to the Empire. Now, I know that the Empire is perhaps one of the most popular races, certainly the most popular one from Game 1. So I can understand that they'll want to expand upon the Empire for that reason in Game 3. And of course, you've got the classic rivalry between the Empire and Chaos as another reason to have them there. And of course, most of the stuff in the Warhammer world is from their perspective. So they've got good reasons to have them there. I just didn't expect to see so much of the map. So one of the thoughts I was having, I know the map's not going to change, but one thought I had was that some of this on the left could be, let me grab that, just need to transform and scale. All right. Oh, oops. I have the wrong thing selected. I wanted to select this layer. Let's try that again. Transform scale. So I thought that there's a portion of the map here on the left which I don't think really needs to be there. Because what are we going to get on this section? Nothing that I can really think that's totally important. I know Middenland is there in the bottom left here, probably for Toddy. And I'd expect Toddy to be coming pretty soon, given that the map now has Middenland so prominently in there. But I think a portion of that could have been cut off, maybe to there, and then that much space could have been added on the far east. Now, it might not look like much, but I think that would have been enough to give us out to the sea, perhaps, with Cathay, and maybe, just maybe, the Mountains of Heaven. Because I don't think the Mountains of Heaven are represented on the map right now. I could be wrong. They might be just not marked. I don't know. So that was one thought I had. Oh, there goes my computer. I'll apply that. That was one thought that I had when I was looking at the map. Another thing which peeves me is something that everybody has mentioned so far is the eastern steppes, or in this case, the tiny little eastern steppe. Now, from what I'm able to glean from the existing maps, that should be much further back. So I've got a thing here for the Kurgan if they're added, in which I've put where I think the eastern steppes should have been, because above the eastern steppes you have more Chaos Wastes. So if I open up this other window I've got here, excuse me, I'm just going to take a drink of water. If you look at that that map there from top down, so we can see the eastern steppes on the right hand side, but there's a huge section which the Kurgans live in above the eastern steppes before you get to the center where the center where the portals to Chaos are. That's all been basically removed. So instead of the Great Bastion protecting against the eastern steppes, it feels more like the Great Bastion is protecting against the Chaos Realm. So very little room for the Kurgan to be added, if they are one of the races they expect to add in the future. So yeah, I don't like how that's so squished. I wish that was more like by here. But of course, if that was the case, then we'd have even less Cathay to play with, unless the map was expanded significantly out. I am disappointed that we don't see Ind, which I guess would be over here, and we don't see Koresh, which I guess would be further here, and no Nippon. That does disappoint me. Can I live with it? Yes, I guess I'm going to have to, but I would have loved to have seen them. Alright, so that's, I guess, what I don't like. Oh, no, there's one more thing. The Darklands. I think the Darklands look way too squished. I think the Mountains of Morn are maybe a bit larger than they need to be, and a little bit more of this room should have been given to the Darklands. And the same here, the mountain range that we have, the World's Edge Mountains. I don't think it needed to be quite as thick, and this Darklands could have been expanded out a little bit more. Even if it meant that we lost some of the isles here, like if the isles were pushed down a bit, so we only had the top two, so we got more Darklands proper, then that I would have preferred that. But you know, those are things I'm going to have to get used to, because this, I believe, is the map. Somebody said on the Reddit, I think, that they'd been confirmed. But there we go. Let's see if I can catch up a chat, because I've seen it whizzing by on the side of my other screen. Let's see, where was I? What about hobgoblins? Yes, I shall come to the hobgoblins, because I was very much hoping that they would appear in the game. Danfield GT, have you watched the Andy Hall? Okay, not to me. Ezek Corporation. I'm quite excited for a potential Archaon rework. Yes, the Chaos Warriors will certainly get a rework, and hopefully they get some better toys this time around. I hope the AI is better. I have that hope as well, J. Ross. But after watching the footage of the... what was it? The Ogre Kingdom sieging the Cathay, where the AI was playing as Cathay. I'm not too optimistic about the AI having improved, because the AI there seemed to be doing some stupid things. Like, I watched Cody Bond's video, and he mentioned it himself, that as the camera was panning over the walls, you could see that some of the Cathayan ranged units were facing back into the settlement, when all of the Ogre Kingdom's units were still outside. So it's still doing stupid things like that. And I mean, it's not like it was cramped for space. There was so much wall space. It could have been sitting in another section. Bobo the Fearless says, "What's up, Butternut Biscuit?" Not much. And I didn't realize I was a butternut biscuit, but I'll take that. Denfield, in my opinion, they will end up including the lands of Ind and Koresh. A global map with it would look strange, or without it would look strange. Yes, a global map would look absolutely pathetic without them. Double X, Big Double X, or Big Brain Time. Set up Kislev outside of their home territory as they're expanding and exploring and go farther east and leave the Empire stuff for the combined map. Yeah, one issue I think that would have been the case with that is I don't think they're prepared, and it's probably valid, I don't think they're prepared to add any lords exclusively for the combined map, because that means that somebody who's just picked up Warhammer 3 would have to then go buy 1 and 2 in order to play that new lord. I don't think they want to do that because it would probably annoy some people. Although most people who've played or intend to play will probably have all the games anyway. Glavenus Maximus. If they just rotate this map about 20 degrees around the pole, it'd be just fine with it. Having too little of Cathay is one of my big issues, along with the Bastion being too close to the pole. Rotate 20 degrees along the pole. Okay, so we would lose if we... Actually, let's duplicate this layer and let's try rotating it to see what we might get. So, edit, transform, and rotate. What are we going to get? So, what are we looking at? It's about 15. Hang on, so that's 45. Is that about 20, maybe? Alright, let's hide that other one. Let's get rid of these layers because they're just now in the way. Okay, so if we did rotate it by about 20 degrees, then what do we... Oh, well, we'd have to move it as well. What do we lose? If we rotate it by about 20 degrees, we lose part of Midland, because I'm convinced that Midland goes into this a bit. We'd lose the tip of... Actually, no, we'd still get the tip of Norska, because now it would be up in this section. We'd lose part of the Chaos Wastes. So the Shardlands. We'd lose the Shardlands. So I don't know... I can't remember if there's any significance about that. I wouldn't mind losing that. We'd have extra room down here for the Southern Realms, actually. The Border Princes would be down here, I think. There would be more room up there for Cathay. They wouldn't really gain too much, though, there. If anything, they might have actually lost some. So, yeah, rotating it like that may not have worked. Back to the chat. Walter says, the Shardlands, Haunted Forest, Blackwater are massive. Nothing... burgers, which screams Warhammer 1 Athlon before Wood Elves were added. I suspect big additions will happen there. Yeah, the Blackwater is indeed massive. So the Blackwater is Zufbar region. Yeah, so we might see some dwarves added, which I'm always up for. I like my dwarves. Oni, the problem is they don't want to make DLC that requires 3 games to play. Yes. Rulu says, in the first map on the non-model Empires one, they're intending each faction race to be in the game like Lizardmen, Dark Elves, etc. They are, I think, intending to get as many as they can. So let's get a brush and let's paint where we might see some of the existing maps, existing guys showing up. So let's get, let's go a darker color. And let's go new layer. New layer. Okie dokie. Alright. And let's get a big boy brush. That one. There we go. I don't want Kislev. I want that one. Okay, so I think... So here on the far left, we've got the Witch Woods. I think we're going to see a Wood Elf show up there. An FLC, but a Wood Elf nonetheless. Down here, we've got Middenland. I think that guarantees Toddy. I'll come to this blank section in a minute and I'll show you how I think it's turned out. We're undoubtedly going to see Chaos in the Chaos Wastes, but I don't know who. So let's just stick to the ones we know. So, Dwarves, we will see, I'm saying, we're probably going to see 1, if not 2 Dwarves added. And they're bound to be added in this section here. I mean, what else are for? Let's just get the black. We're also, Silver Peak is about by here, so we should see Neferata show up. And we'll go back to the blue. I'm thinking that if they really want to try something different, we might see a Norse dwarf show up under the Dwarven race banner. We might see Malachi Machyson show up over here, because I believe there's a lost dwarf held in this area, and there was a story about him going there with Gotrek and Felix, I think. So other existing races, we might not see a Lord, but we might see down here in the Haunted Forest one of the Wood Elf trees that they have to resurrect. So we could see that there, and I don't know whether we'll see them further up in Cathay. Alright, other existing races. Bretonia, the Bretonians will not show up as a region, but they might show up as a horde. I don't know if Bretonians have crusaded to the east, so I've no idea where they would appear. Tomb Kings, we should see a Tomb King horde somewhere in the Mountains of Morn, because there's that story about the son of a Tomb King who took the army of Kemrian war kitties and slaughtered the entire tribe by causing an avalanche. So we could see Tomb Kings show up in there. Skaven, well, Skaven, take your pick. I'd have to colour the entire map blue. Skaven can show up absolutely anywhere. Who else? Beastmen. Much like the Skaven, I wouldn't want to hazard a guess at where the Beastmen are going to show up. Alright, I've gone through the Empire, Dwarves, Greenskins. Alright, let's give them the black one. Greenskins. We might see Greenskins in the Empire area, or we might see them over in the Darklands. Now, who's the last? We've got one Greenskin Lord left from the 8th edition. Gorbad Ironclaw. So, I think most of his lore was about raiding the Empire. I think he actually took over Altdorf at one point, so he'd probably show up in this area, somewhere around here, if he does. But they might move him over to there to fight the Dowie Tsar, who knows. So that's Greenskins. Lizardmen, we know would be if they appear in that game on map, they'll appear down there. Who am I missing now? Dark Elves. I don't see anywhere for the Dark Elves to show up. Tomb Kings, Vampire Coast. There's not really much sea for them to go in, but I wouldn't say it's impossible to see them showing up somewhere in the Kraken Sea. I doubt they'd show up down here. I know I'm missing some races, but drawing a blank as to who they are. Oh, Norska. Well, Norska, of course, are on the map there. And I'm sure I've missed someone off, but I'll come back to them later. Sorry. Got distracted. Alright, blah, blah, blah. Where did I miss in the chat? Voltar, I really enjoy Cody Bond's videos. Good to hear him talked about. Yes, I really do like Cody's stuff. He's got a wicked sense of humor, and he's a very nice guy. I've chatted to him on a few occasions. Very, very gentlemanly, southern gentleman. Double X Big Double X, he admitted he is an ogre. Okay. Will Francisco F says, move it more to the left, please, so that Chaos Realms are right in the middle. Left, please. Did you mean the the transformed one? Move it more to the left, so Chaos Realms are right in the middle. That's the wrong layer. Let's move the right layer. So more to the left. So is that kind of what you're expecting? I mean, that would certainly give us a lot more room. Let's bring this thing back, and let's erase all my little doodles. And let's see, what could we get from that? Let's grab size 13 or 2. Alright, so we would then have the coast here, which would lead down to Ind. We would then have, I guess that would just curve around. So we'd got the river there, which goes out to the coast, which would be there for Cathay. So that would be water. I'll just put a W for water. So then, let's see. We would see the Mountains of Heaven somewhere around there, I guess. So this would be, so that section there would be Ind, and still not enough for Koresh, and no Nippon, unless we cut this off here and Nippon showed up here. Possibility. Would it be nice, perhaps? Let's go back to the chat. Where is the Inevitable City located? Inevitable City. That rings a bell. Let's have a quick look at the map. I know the lore says that it's, as you move towards it, it constantly seems like it's moving away from you, and then suddenly it's on you. I think, whose lore was it that I read where they were going there? Was it Lothar? No. I think the Inevitable City is somewhere on the eastern end of this map. It might just be off about here. I'm not certain. Something reflected. I tried to elaborate my thoughts on the 20 degrees thing, but I don't think it came out well. That's okay. I'm not sure my thoughts are coming out that well, but we shall see. All right, so I've gone through what I thought were issues. So what do I think? What have I surmised is behind that blank section? So I have doodled roughly. So I think that's where the Gulf of Kislev, the Kraken Sea, and the what is the name of that Empire River? The Talabakland River. I think that's those water locations. So we can see that Norska has really been stretched out and thin, and that Kislev will be quite flat and thin, if my guess is correct. So if I just lay on the layers, these are my doodlings for the regions and the names. So let's go through them. There's a few. All right. So I think based on what we know of the Game 2 map, that we've got the Naglfari Mountains here and the Icetooth Mountains. Trollheim, and then the Mountains of Hell. So this is all familiar territory. And then we've got the Giant Horn, which is where the Norse dwarfs are. Then we've got Hellpit, and the North and East Oblast, and the South Oblast. And then we've got that river that runs just through the southern section of that. Troll Country, and then Nordland coming around and finishing off, and then Ostland, and then Hochland. I'm probably too big. I know everything's being stretched to the east and west, so Hochland would be stretched a bit, but I'm not sure if it would be stretched that much. So that's everything north of the river. Then south of the river, we can see that Reichland has been really squished, and it seems that the further south you go, the more squished things get. So we might see Reichland there, and we might see Weisland. I never know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Just down further. So I can see that this says, if I'm making it out correctly, it says Southern Grey Mountains. Now, when I first looked at that, I thought, that can't be right. The Southern Grey Mountains are not that far in Reichland. That should be the Northern Grey Mountains, surely. But given how they've twisted and distorted everything around, the Northern Grey Mountains is probably starting just by here. And some people have said that the map is cut off a little bit on the left, so we might actually see the pass between the Southern and Northern Grey Mountains show up by there. So if this is the Southern Grey Mountains, there's a section where it goes straight and then it drops off, which is around by the Dwarven Hold. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. So that would go around a bit and then it would drop off about there, about by Weisland. So if Weisland does fit, then we might actually see Averland fit. And then that would be over to Sylvania. And then the rest of Dwarven Mountains. The Moot might actually make an appearance. And Sturland and Talabakland above that. And then Ostermark as well. So pretty much all of the Empire except for Balthasar Gelt's region, I think, is going to be in there. I mean, it does look a bit squished, but I'm not quite sure what else could have fitted. I do actually think Kislev is much bigger than that. There's a tip of land in the Gulf of Kislev, and I think that's the very tip of Troll Country. A tip of land in the Gulf of Kislev. Okay, Gulf of Kislev. Oh, right. So you think this... actually, maybe it's... Oh, you know what? I think you're right. I think... I didn't see that before, but that might be the... where's my river? Where's my river? What I've got as my inlet here might actually be that. I hadn't noticed that was a bit faded, that bit by there. So that inlet might be there, meaning that all of this stretches out. In which case, that means that Kislev will be quite sizable. But then that would mean that the Naglfari and Icetooth and Trollheim would be then quite squished. And Ostland would also be quite... No, actually, no, it can't be. Because this is Nordland here. If that was the tip of Kislev, the inlet, then Ostland wouldn't exist. Yeah, that's got to be the river coming in that far. Maybe not that far, maybe about here. But it can't be quite up there. Good idea, though. I didn't catch that either until I saw someone on the Reddit point it out. I see. Alright, so that's what I think is the layout behind there. I don't know about the Chaos Way section. I didn't bother with that. So, given that these might be the sections, what might we see showing up? So, I think I mentioned that if I go to my Empire Lords, I think there's 3 that are a good likelihood as DLC fairly soon down the line. And by fairly soon, I mean probably in the next 2 years. So I think Toddy is going to be much sooner than that. I'd say that Toddy will show up in the first 6 months of the game's life cycle. I'd be surprised if he didn't. So we've got Toddy in Midland. We've got Lady von Draken in Weistland, if it does reach that far south. and then Marius Lightdorf in Averland. So the reason that I've got Toddy in there and Marius, well, Toddy, everybody wants Toddy, so that's the reason he's here. Marius is from the 8th edition. He's one of the lords that are missing, so I've got him there. Most of the other characters from the 8th edition that are missing, I think, are better suited as heroes. Lady Von Draken, I've heard that she's quite popular. A lot of people are asking for her, so that's why I plonked her in there. So I think that's who we might see showing up for the Empire. Showing up for the Dwarves, we've got 3. So I think we might see Grim Berlikson showing up in Zufbar, which is where, funnily enough, Mixu has him in his mod, I believe. We might see Malachi Makaisen show up on an expedition up here. Now, as I mentioned previously, there's a lost dwarven hold up there, which I believe was attacked by Chaos. And there's a story about Malachi, Godric, Felix, and the group of Slayers going up there and finding some dwarven survivors. So he might be starting up there. Wouldn't be a bad spot for him. I think we have enough dwarves in the left-hand side of the map, so, and it doesn't really make sense for him to be over with the Norskans. Doesn't really make sense for him to be anywhere in the Empire, and I don't think he'd be in the Chaos Wastes. The last dwarf I think we might see, although he probably will show up as a hero rather than a lord, but Joseph. So Joseph Bugman's lore says that after his brewery was destroyed, which is somewhere down here, that he chased the orc, Git Guzzler. He's been hunting him down ever since. And the lore says that Git Guzzler disappeared into the Darklands. So we might get a DLC with Joseph Bugman and perhaps even Git Guzzler. Or we might just get Joseph as an FLC somewhere in the Darklands hunting for that devious orc that killed and took half of his people. So I think those are the dwarfs we might see show up. Greenskins. The only one I could think of was Gorbad Ironclaw, he's the only missing lord from the 7th edition of the Orc army book. And as I said, he's famous for attacking Reichland, but I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up in the Darklands. So, could get that green skin anywhere. What else? Aroloth might show up in the Witch's Wood. I think he's the only he's the only lord. Oh, excuse the car. I think he's the only Wood Elf army book lord that we don't have yet. And then I've got the question mark over here because I don't know if there'll be a forest to restore. And the same up here. I noticed there's a large forest in Cathay. And I don't know if the Wood Elves have ever been to Cathay, but even though it might not make sense from a lore perspective, it might mechanically be nice for the Wood Elves, if they show up, to have the opportunity to jump outside the map. Okay, so that's about all I went through the races there. So, Darklands, Chaos Dwarfs, Mantis of Morn, Ogre Kingdoms, Cathay, and Kislev. And then Chaos Gods will probably show up in this arc here. Right? I think it was confirmed that Tzeentch will show up above the Great Bastion. So what new races, if this map doesn't change, could we possibly see come to the game? So the one race, well, there are a few races I want. I really want Nippon, but they're off the map unless it changes. But on the ones that could fit on the map, those races, the one that I want the most, excluding Chaos Dwarves because we know they're coming, would be the Hobgoblin Khanate. Now, from their lore, what I've been able to glean from their lore is they usually roam around the eastern steppes, raiding caravans from Cathay. Sometimes they'll attack the Great Bastion. Sometimes they'll wander into the Mountains of Morn. But often they'll come down into the Darklands. And since the Hobgoblin Khanate would be represented, I'm assuming, as horde armies, because they don't have any major settlements. They tend to, much like, much like Genghis Khan's far reaches of the empire there. They didn't have settlements, they just subjugated people and had them do their bidding for them. So we could see the Hobgoblin Khanate show up anywhere in this sliver of the eastern steppes. Or I'm thinking we might actually see 2 lords for the Hobgoblin Khanate show up somewhere in here, and maybe one down here as horde armies. So if it's 2 lords, that's not a full campaign pack. But I think they're going to, this time round, start to introduce mini campaign packs. So which are kind of like the pre-orders, but with just the 2 lords. Because there's not enough lore for 4 Hobgoblin Khanate lords. And I don't think I'd want 4 Hobgoblin Khanate lords, because there wouldn't be that much differentiation between them. So another race, which I think before was an absolute, impossibility, but now is actually a good chance, is the Halflings. I know they're a bit of a meme, and some people would hate to see them show up in the game. But if that is the correct layout of the Empire, or even remotely close, and the Moot does show up, I think we could see a mini DLC, a mini campaign pack with the Halflings. 2 Halfling lords riding their roosters, their cooks and their soup machine. I think it would be hilarious to have them added to the game. And it would be a nice change to play with something other than the Empire in that region. I don't know who their major enemy would be, and it would also be able. It would give the opportunity to have some Halfling troops added to some of the Empire armies, because I know that they sometimes intermingle. So I think the Halflings could be a fun addition way down the line. So I would expect them to be. Let's see. The first pack will definitely be Chaos Dwarves. Second, I would think would be Hobgoblin Khanate, and I think that because there's been recent new models shown off for them by Games Workshop, Halflings could be 3rd or 4th DLC campaign pack. Who knows? So another one which is a possibility is the Kurgans. The only issue with the Kurgans is they would take the same space as the Hobgoblin Khanate, or a good portion of the same space. So unless they decide that they want to move the Kurgans over to the... let's just get a brush. Let's select the Kurgans. Oh, that's Kislev. Where did I go? Kurgan. If they decide that they want to move the Kurgans perhaps over here, because there isn't much in the Chaos Wastes, so the Kurgans instead take up this space. I'm forgetting how to talk. So if the Kurgans start to take up that space, then we can have Hobgoblins and Kurgans. So they're a possibility now. I wasn't so sure they could show up previously. A far-flung possibility, maybe more likely to be a DLC Lord, is the Norse Dwarfs. And I think their roster could be different enough to warrant 2 Lords. But the size of the empire, well, I wouldn't even call it an empire, but the size of the region they control is probably not large enough. So maybe 5% chance, very slim. I don't see, apart from them, any other players being added if the campaign map stays the same. So we don't go far enough to the west to have Albion. We don't go far enough south to have the Southern Realms. And we don't go far enough east to have Ind and Koresh. And we don't go far enough to the northeast to have Nippon. So that kind of limits who we can have. I mean, thinking out of the box, they might try and add a new race. in here, which could be the remnants of the giants. I very much doubt it, but you know, if they're scraping the bottom of the barrel and they don't extend the map, it's a possibility. There are other Norse-type tribes that would be up here, as we could see on that map just to the left. So, might see the Hmong, perhaps. Hmong might show up there. But then the Hmong and the Kurgan and Norska, very similar. I mean, there are enough differences, I think, to have maybe Norska and Kurgans, or Norska and Hmong, but to have all three? No, that's probably too much of a stretch. Apart from that, I can't think of any other races that could show up on the map. So if anybody has any ideas for another race that could be represented here, all ears. But let's jump to chat. Glavenus, where did I last read? Toddy will evidently have his day, probably as an FLC because his model is already in the game with Beastman DLC. Hopefully it'll at least be Imric tier. Yeah, I thought that Toddy was going to come as an FLC as the last FLC for Game 2. Of course, that didn't happen. We got Thoric instead, which was a nice surprise. But I think if we see Toddy come in the game, he might actually come as a DLC. There might be enough unique units that they could get for the Empire to warrant that. And then again, I might be wrong. Once again, Glavenus, the Hobgoblins might have something similar to the new camps the Ogres have, but more mobile to reflect their more nomadic nature. Yes, actually, they could have something similar to the camps. Of the Ogre mechanics, let's see, they got contracts, wouldn't want Hobgoblins to have that. They wouldn't use meats, they wouldn't have any feasts or any sacrifices to the Great Maw. What was the last mechanic that they had? Apart from camps, there was one more mechanic. What was it? Big names. They wouldn't have big names. So camps could be the one mechanic they take from the Ogre Kingdoms, because it makes sense for them. The Hobgoblins also rely heavily upon the wolves, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some mechanic around the wolves, and maybe a mechanic about subjugating the species, some sort of I've forgotten the word. Having another blank moment. Oh god, getting old. Getting old. Too many blank moments. Don't get old. No, yes, mechanics. They could have some mechanics taken from the Ogre Kingdom, I guess. The one mechanic. SSMCS says, at Greytar Games, do you think they will make Nagash his own faction or the Vampire Council of Tomb Kings? Aha, Nagash. There is another one that I forgot. He could actually come with his own mini campaign pack. So I don't think he will be Vampire Council or Tomb Kings. I think he will be his own thing. I just forgot to actually add him to the map. So let's do so. So we do have Nagashazia. I think it's just down here. Hang on. We've got the Darklands. I think Nagashazia is down around here. Right at the edge of the Darklands. So we could see Nagash show up here. Let's just go NA. Can't be bothered writing all of it. So Nagash might show up there. So that's another possible expansion pack. So that gives us Chaos Dwarfs as one. We know their certainty. Hobgoblin Carnates, probably a good chance now. So that's 2. Kurgan, maybe a good chance. That's 3. Halflings, another decent chance. That's 4. And Nagash, 5. Norse Dwarfs, yeah, unlikely. So let's remove them. Let's get rid of the existing races. So let's get rid of Kislev and Cathay and Elgers and Chaos Dwarfs. So that will give us Nagash, 2, 3, 4, and the Chaos Dwarfs 5 possible mini campaign packs. Or the Chaos Dwarfs will be a major campaign pack. They have enough lore and lords for a major one. Foehammer. I think we will get the Ulrich as the DLC lord and Toddy as DLC. Possibly. Muramasa S. They could easily add in Bretonnian questing factions in those regions. Yes, we could get a Bretonnian faction on Crusade. I don't know of any lore that places them in the Darklands. I'm sure there's probably something. But I doubt that we'd see them showing up in the Far East or the Mountains of Morn. They might be in the Darklands. Maybe we'll see them show up in the Empire, but for what reason, I don't know. Although Bretonnia... The Bretonnians and Norskans fight fairly often. Maybe a Bretonnian questing army in Norska. That would fit on the map. I've been saying for years that they... Muramasa S. I've been saying for years that they should have Nagash, Archaean, and Neferata as separate faction from Vampire Counts and Tomb Kings. I think that there's enough for Neferata to be her own thing. If it's a mini pack with 2 lords, which is what I've said I'm expecting more of in Game 3. So I wouldn't mind seeing Neferata and her sisters as something separate from the Vampire Counts. I mean, we've got so many Vampire Count lords to choose from that if we want to flesh out the Vampire Counts more, and that wasn't a pun, it's not intended, then we've got so many we can choose from that we don't need Neferata to be with them. For now, as Darth Null, a little late to the party, but this is cool. Thanks for doing this. Not late. I'm sure you intended. You're here exactly when you intended to be. Thanks for doing this. My ramblings. I'm more than happy to do my incoherent ramblings and share my thoughts, and my disappointments, and my optimism on races that we might see. And fingers crossed that we see the Hobgoblins. You probably noticed that I've got a thing for the Hobgoblins. They're the only race that I've done a full roster speculation video for, which did, when I did it, very well at the time. So I was very chuffed. I'd love to see the Hobgoblins come in the game. And I know we'll get some Hobgoblins as slaves for the Chaos Dwarves, but I want to see the mean, nasty, not caring Hobgoblins. I want to see the Great Khan himself. I guess part of my draw to the Hobgoblins is when I saw. I've always liked the Mongolian Empire from history, and they're based loosely on that. And when I saw the TV series Marco Polo, I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. It's on Netflix. They did 2 seasons, and I really enjoyed that series. I was really upset that they didn't do any more. I know it was not very accurate to history, but the setting and the actors and the whole thing was, I thought, really, really well done. And the who played the Khan? Who played Kublai Khan? That was it's coming to me. It's very slowly. He was in the he's in the Doctor Strange movies. He plays his sidekick. I'm gonna have to look that up now. I cannot let that slide. That's Kublai Khan. Who played Kublai Khan? Learn to type. Kublai Khan, Marco Polo. Polo. Netflix. Should have the cast in here, surely. Nope, okay. Let's put in the cast. It's going to drive me nuts if I don't check it out now. Benedict Wong. That's the name. So I really thought that Benedict Wong was the perfect Kublai Khan. I thought he was fantastic. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to us having a Hobgoblin Khanate. If they have a character that's drawn based on him, that would be fantastic. Let's get back to chat. SSM, where do you believe Be'lakor will appear, and what do you think his campaign will revolve around? That's from SSMCS. Be'lakor. Who does he have a rivalry with? I can't remember. I think we'll see Be'lakor going after the Empire. So I would imagine that Be'lakor will start where the Chaos Invasion currently starts, or roughly there. I think we've heard that Tzeentch will start. Let me get rid of some of these layers so that we can see the map again. I think it's been confirmed, at least I read somewhere. I don't know if it was correct. Why am I not allowed to write on that layer? Oh, because I had the wrong layer active. Alright, let's add a new layer. New layer. Thank you. Alright. So I think it's been said that Tzeentch is going to start over here, above Cathay. So he's going to be attacking Cathay. I think we can say for sure, based on the marketing, that Khorne is going to start in a position to be attacking Kislev right off the bat. So that leaves Slaanesh and Nurgle. Now, I don't think Slaanesh will be attacking the Empire. I think Nurgle is going to be doing that. So I think Nurgle is going to start in the western area there with a campaign focused on the Empire. So I think Slaanesh might start here with a campaign maybe on the Dawizar. But since they're not there at launch, maybe his campaign is focused more on the Ogres. But then Slaanesh and Nurgle, you could switch them around, I guess. So that would leave Be'lakor somewhere around here. Oh, that's a fantastic B. I'm very happy with that B. So Be'lakor could go after the Empire. He could go after Cathay. He could go after Kislev. Be'lakor's a free spirit. He can go wherever the hell he pleases. Or Be'lakor, he might even go and decide that my campaign is going to be focused on killing all of the Chaos Lords. I'm taking over. I'm now the boss. That could be what Be'lakor's doing. Hope that made sense. Back to the chat. Interesting shapes there, bro. Oh, my art is just, Pollock, eat your heart out. Glavenus Maximus, I can't blame you on the on the Hobgoblins. I love Steppe Nomads as much as the next guy. Yep, and given the way the map is, I think they've got to be in there. If they don't do the Hobgoblins, it's a wasted opportunity. Hammond, hey, what's up? Not much, Hammond, thank you. Just thought I'd squeeze in a stream instead of play the game today. Although I'll probably play later. Record this week's footage. Marco Polo was a great series. Bummermas S. Yes, I sorely missed that series. It was so interesting. Such great characters. And 100 Eyes. Oh, what a classic character. Benedict Wong, thank you guys for reminding me. But as you saw, I just had to go look up myself. Glavenus Maximus, I actually really like what they've done with them in AOS, being more based on more mawkish, cunning, and they look so outwardly mean as well. Yes, so I know that we're not going to get any lore based on Age of Sigmar, but we might get the look of them based on Age of Sigmar. Who knows? Benedict Wong sounds like he voices Zhao Ming too. That would be interesting. Actually, he'd be a great voice actor, or great actor to get in and do some voice for one of the lords in the cafe. Or maybe an Ogre Kingdom Lord. I don't know. I wonder who we'd see as the monk, assuming we get the Monkey King. And once again, if we don't get the Monkey King, that will be a wasted opportunity. I wonder who they would get to voice the Monkey King. A Brick Wall says he can make a decent Tamarkan voice actor if he can get his voice kind of gravelly and gross sounding. Yeah, actually, Tamarkan, he could do a good Tamarkan. Hammond, with tic-tac-toe, he died by rock drops. Okay. I'm not quite sure what to make with that. Maybe it's some lore I don't know of. Fohammer, everyone. Be'lakor has something in Mordheim, if I remember correctly. Okay. Hammond, tic-tac-toe dropped rocks on him. It was funny. It's canon to lore. Okay, alright. I was confused by your first message, but now I'm with you. A brick wall. With Be'lakor, Toddy, and a large chunk of the Empire showing, do you think we will see Valten appear? Valten. Alright, I'm not as big of a lore nerd as some people think, so I'm going to have to look that name up. Oop, that was the wrong window. Ignore that, the one that popped up there. Don't need to see anything there. Right. Valten. Let's see. What? Valten Warhammer. Okay. A champion of Sigma, I see. Valten. Wiki, tell me things. What do we get? Valten was the chosen of Sigmar and heralded the rebirth of the divine warrior god. So he is born in Reichland, in Lachenbad, where he had an uneventful childhood, growing up as the son of a blacksmith. Okay. Valten found Ragarth. A great battle ensued, and Valten was sliced across the chest by Ragarth's scimitar. So Luther has heard of his deeds and his conviction, and he proclaimed him found Sigmar reborn. Okay, so he is an Empire character. I don't know if he would... He might show up as a legendary hero. I don't think he would, based on just the little bit I've read then, I don't think he would start as a lord for a faction. I mean, there are so many Empire characters to choose from for new Empire factions, and I expect they will get at least 2. Because the Empire have what right now? 4? We've got Karl Franz, Wolfhart off in Lustria, Balthasar Gelt, and the Great White Mustache that is Volkmar. So I would love to see Volkmar change position, so he's not in the same, not sharing a bed with Karl Franz. I think he'd be a good spot in Hochland. I think there's a castle there which he could go to. So we've got 4, so we may get to 6, I think. We'll see for all the Game 1 races at least. So Toddy will be definitely one of those, so it would take us to 5. And then there's that Lady Von Draken, possible 6th. And then who knows from there. Right, let's see, where will we in the chat? P. Hammond, people are expecting hobgoblins in this map. This is the Game 3 equivalent to the Vortex, and I don't see why they would be here. Okay, why? So you don't see why hobgoblins would be here, or you don't see why somebody else? I mean, hobgoblins make perfect sense on this map. They undoubtedly, well, hopefully show up in Mortal Empires 2. Well, anybody that shows up here is, of course, going to show up there. Arias 106, hey, how you going, mate? Sorry it took me so long to get to your message. I'm trying to catch up with chat. SSMCS, do you think they will do a visual update sometime after launch to Tzeentch Warriors on disc? To something similar to AOS fan art? No, I think whatever is in the game at launch for those things will stay. I don't think that they'll change the look of them unless there's a great deal of pressure from the community. Areas 106, great. I really enjoyed your UI modding tutorial. Thanks, mate. I hope it was useful. I kind of cut that short. I should get back to it because I was going to do some extra things. but I've kind of been busy working on my Plutonian Crusades mod, which I might show off at the end of this stream as a little bonus to anybody that's interested. Yeah, my Plutonian Crusades mod was just going to be the mechanic for the Plutonian faction as a whole, but because I'm a glutton for punishment and I like to give myself way more than I can handle, I've now added in, or begun adding in, new unique mechanics for every Plutonian Legendary Lord. So, Luon Leoncoeur has his own new UI. The Fey Enchantress has this her own new UI based around spells. And Repance even has a new mechanic as well. So I'll go through those, I think, at the end of this stream. Volta is the reincarnation of Sigmar, basically, yes, as I just discovered. And I should have... there's so many characters to keep track of that I guess nobody knows them all. Although Lawmaster of Sotek appears to know shitloads more than I do. Hammond, no more Reichland characters. Yeah, I don't really want any more characters starting on top of another one. I was annoyed that they didn't move Volkmar to somewhere else. And also, who the hell is that bloody dwarf? I made a mod with him. How do I not bloody know his name? The White Dwarf. He should have been moved up to near the Dark Elves too. And then of course there's the Necromancer who lives in somebody's basement in Sylvania. He needs to be moved too. Give us Elspeth. Elspeth von Draken. Yes, she could be interesting to see her added. The Lost Dragon Child. Yes. Although Joelle Leloup says no, Elspeth, no, and then we have Hammond. Yes, okay, so we've got the two sides of the argument there. No and yes. I'm leaning to the yes, please. I think she's interesting enough to deserve a spot. Going to have to agree to disagree, Hammond. Yes, I don't see why hobgoblins would show up in this map. Okay, could you expand on why you don't think they should show up in the map, Hammond? This is the small map. I know it's small, but I think they've said that this one's twice the size of the Vortex, at least in terms of land that's available to conquer. Because the Vortex, of course, was a shitload of water. So I think there should be room for them in the area of the Road of Skulls, or down at the northern end of the Dark Lands, or in the little sliver of the Eastern Steppes that we got, because I'm still pissed about that, and I probably will be for a while. I think there's room for them, and I'd love to see them. Muramasa S. Do you think the Celestial City of the Dragon Empire will appear as unique look above Weijing on a campaign map? Dragon Emperor will appear as unique look above the Weijing on the campaign map. Ah, as in floating above it. No, I don't think we'll see that. I don't think we'll see that, the Dragon Emperor's Celestial City. I'd be surprised, really surprised if we did. They will probably show up in Mortal Empires, not this one. Everyone 6 sounds like a cool mod. My man Grombindal. Grombindal, yes, Grombindal the White Dwarf. Thank you, Fohammer. That was driving me nuts. Alright, let me check my notes. Not that I've really stuck to them very much. What's best guess was one there. I did that. I went through the races, the race packs I think we might see coming. There was one other thing. I noticed that we've got the wastelands there, and a little bit of the map on the left-hand side has been confirmed as being cut off, because in the artwork they showed there was the box in front of it. Now I wonder, and I don't know whether this is going to be the case or not, I wonder if that's going to be far enough to the left for Marienburg to actually show up. And I wonder if there's then a chance we might see a character, an FLC character, show up for Marienburg. Could be interesting. Maybe a parity type theme. existing races I've gone through, who I thought might be where. Yeah, I think I've covered pretty much everything. So if there's any questions anybody had about the map before I jump to just showing off a little bit of progress on the mod. Okay, Hammond, I see this map as the Caesar and Gaul Hannibal at the Gates map, as Immortal Empires is the Grand Campaign. Yes, Immortal Empires being our Grand Campaign, it's probably the one we're all going to play more once it comes out, let's be honest. I don't often play the Vortex map. I think the only game I've played recently on the Vortex map was with Skrulk, and that's because his starting position on the Mortal Empires map feels too squished. They really needed to, or hope, extend that south, so he's got some more room to play with there. Muramasa S. Some of these people say Hobgoblins shouldn't be added, in the same people who said Dogs of War was going to be pre-order faction. Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, my guess for the pre-order faction was way off. I said the Hobgoblins were going to be, and then I changed my mind and I thought it was going to be the Chaos Dwarves. And I was both on wrong occasions. No, I can see where he's coming from. Sin Siege. Oh, okay, I'll try and pronounce this again. Sina T. I probably got that wrong. I apologize if I did. Do you think the Immortal Empire map would be a globe? No. I don't think the engine can do that, so I'm going to say no. We might see, if it stretches far enough to the east and we do get to see Nippon, we might see the same sort of thing we saw in Empire. Little regions where you can click in it and your army will be jumped to the other side of the map. I think that's the most we could possibly expect. If the map stays this size, and when the new Immortal Empires map comes out, if it doesn't go too far to the east and doesn't have Nippon, then I don't think we'll even see that. Aries 106. Does this map prove the Earth is flat? I'm sure that the people who believe the Earth is flat would have much more impressive proof than this. A globe map would be amazing. A globe map would be fantastic. I just don't think that we will get it. Alright, I've caught up with chat, so I'm going to put aside the map and I'm going to jump to some update on the mod. So I need to find the right window. I think it's that one. Okay. So that was a work in progress. Right, Bretonia. So let's see, Bretonia Crusades and event. What do I want to show? Hang on, I'm just trying to remember how playable it is if it's actually running in game at the moment. That one is. I think 2 of them are running in game. So I'm going to start up Warhammer and see if I can actually show off some footage of one of them working. Ollie M, do you think a Chaos Dwarves campaign pack will come out 4 to 5 months after release? Let's start that up. 4 to 5 months after release. Let me turn the volume down. And then I think we can expect to see the Immortal Empires map within about 3 to 4 months. So I'd say that we'd see the Chaos Dwarves maybe in 6. Because I think they'll do the Immortal Empires map before they do the first DLC faction proper. Hammond, do you read everything out loud? I'd like to eat steak with ketchup. I do read a lot of things out loud, yes. Just to remind myself what the frack I'm doing. Area is 106. I like turtles. Yes, maybe we'll get a turtle in-game. I mean, there's myths in China, isn't there, about a huge turtle? I can't remember exactly. But perhaps we'll see turtles in-game. Alright. Campaign. New campaign. Mortal Empires. Okay, let's go to Bretonia. Bretonia. Alright, Luan Leonka.
Of Bretonia.
Let's start him up. So it'll take a little while to load. Double X, big double X. I'm playing a Beastman Entertainment and watch you at the same time. Okay, how are you going with your Beastman campaign? Which Beastman Lord are you using? So, the mod, as I said, I've expanded it more than what I initially intended, which means, of course, it's taken me a lot longer. And I've been a lazy bastard recently, and I haven't actually done any work on it. So I've got to pick up my game and get back to it. I purchased Stellaris when it was on sale a while ago, and some DLCs for that, and I've actually been wasting my time playing Stellaris. So, need to get back to the work on this. But Luan has the Crusade mechanic, which is almost done. There are some things I haven't decided and I'm struggling to decide upon, which are holding that back from being finished. And then he has a unique mechanic called Fealty of the Realm, if I remember correctly, where he will earn a resource from battle, pretty much like all resources are earned, and that will accumulate over time, and you get to choose how you want to spend that by saying, I want to gain influence over this realm of Bretonia. So it might be Artois, or I want to gain influence over Bordelot, or, you know, Paravon, any of the ones that are in the game. And then gaining the influence with them jumps you up to a new tier, and you get different bonuses with each one. In chat, Hammond, I hate Bretonians so much in single player and multiplayer. Oh, I'm sorry that you sorry to hear that you hate them. I actually quite like them. I wish they weren't so knight heavy. I mean, I wouldn't mind 1 or 2 more foot units, but on the whole, I quite like them. Their voices, their playstyle, their troops. Aries 106. I hope the Beastmen are more fun than I remember a few years ago. Oh, the Beastmen had a fantastic DLC update. They are much better now. You're no longer playing a game of whack-a-mole with their bloodgrounds and their herdstones. They are fantastic to play now. Okay, this should load anytime soon. I'm not running currently from an SSD, so that's why it's taking so long. And I've got so many windows open that a lot of my memory is being used up. It's always the way. The Beastmen are now one of the absolute most engaging races in the game. Yeah, I'd say they're in the top 3rd. Have you heard of Lily's Overhaul? Yes, I actually have a number of Lily's mods in my mod list. I have not activated them all and played a game with it. I plan to once I've got this finished, and then play a campaign with one of the lords with my mechanics and Lily's mechanics all running at once. That'll probably be one of the Let's Plays thingies I do. If I ever manage to finish the Thoric Ironbrow one that's going on now. I had the dirty Skaven from Clan Eshin on their knees, and then they went and confederated with Ikitclaw, bastard. So they went from 6 settlements up to 24, and now I've got to hunt buggers down all over the map. Because killing Clan Eshin was one of my victory conditions. Alright, playing the Brass Bowl. It's going pretty good, but I'm fearing the nerf on his rampage. They nerfed it hard, did they? They nerfed it hard. Alright, let's skip that. I don't really need to see all that. That's not why I'm here.
My lord.
Okay, so those of you with a keen eye might notice a few things straight off the bat that's new. So top, not quite center, but I can't quite get it in the center because I can't figure out how to move this over there. Oh, didn't mean to move. So top center we have this new little bit which is for the Crusades. So in times of great need, the rulers of Bretonnia will call the crusade upon an enemy in order to rally the finest warriors throughout the realm. So when you click on this, or when you hover, so you select the target faction for your crusade. Once your button is clicked, you will need to click on the target settlement for the faction. Only settlements of major factions which you are at war with are valid crusade targets. So if we click on this, so I believe that Bretonnia starts off at war with Marienburg. Now, Marienburg's not a major faction, but at the moment, because I'm testing it and I want to test with somebody who's really close to Luon, they are, just for now, a test major faction. So when I click on this, then every faction should get a little crossed swords next to it. So its new icon gets added to every little city. So you can see that even Bretonnian ones, but these are grayed out because it's not a valid crusade target. So you cannot perform a crusade against this faction. Only major factions which you are at war with are valid crusade targets. So we can see that all of these are grayed out, except Marienburg should be active. No, Marienburg's not active. Did I not declare war? Ah, not Marienburg. My fault. The Orcs. There we go. I'm at war with the Orcs. So you can see that they are not grayed out. So when you hover over, you can declare a crusade. So on your next turn, a crusade army will begin to muster and be spawned near your capital in 3 turns. Now, this is something I'm torn about. I don't know whether I want to have a crusade army appear now, or whether I just want to give bonuses, big bonuses to the upkeep of your current armies. Because when this crusade army gets spawned, the power balance really shifts for your faction. So maybe I'll just change it to so it spawns a small crusade army, because spawning a full 20 stack really tips the balance. So anybody, any thoughts there? What would you prefer to see? Would you rather see, when you declare crusade, you see massive upkeep and recruitment cost reduction? Do you want to see a full 20 stack crusade army appear? Do you want to see a small crusade army appear? Or maybe, depending on what point in the campaign you are, governs the size of the stack. So you might start off with a crusade army stack of, say, 8 units, and then further into the campaign it gets up to 12, 16, 20. So, ogres, my lord. King Lewin, hands down my favourite. Marienburg. An extra crusade army would be historical and cool. A small 10 stack, maybe. Can you scale it with level? I probably wouldn't scale it with level. I'd probably scale it with the number of settlements you've conquered. Or, I've got another mechanic which is part of this, which you'll see. I might scale it to that. Scale with a number of turns sounds great. Okay, maybe the Crusade army could have smaller upkeep at the start, but after a few turns the upkeep gets crazy. Alright, so I'm thinking, from what I'm seeing from the few people that replied, spawning an army is probably the way to go, which is good because that's what it does right now. So if I click on this, so you can see I've clicked on that. I haven't cleaned up the code yet for that to disappear, but you can see that we now have a target. And I've called a crusade against the greenskins, and I've got 16 turns to do my crusade. Now, I'm going to have 2 types of crusade. It's not in here at the moment. At the moment, the crusade is just a specific target. But I'm going to have an option, a little bit like with SFO, when it pops up, it gives you all those options about how you want to do your caps. Well, I'm going to have this pop up, and it's going to give you the option on, do you want to do single target crusades, or wider faction crusades. So the single target is obvious, just the one settlement you have to attack. The wider one will be at least 3 settlements that you have to attack. But because it's something that I think people should be able to choose, it will come up as a pop-up at the start. But we've got a target, it's the greenskins. So let's have a look at our crusade screen. So this is the errantry banner, which is tied to the crusade screen. and displays the banners you've obtained from rivals during successful crusades and allows them to be upgraded with chivalry. So now chivalry has a use apart from just getting to the end of the game. So we can see these here, these circles. These are all another new mechanic that all the Bretonnians get. Excuse me. So these are called virtues, and different virtues do different things. So this is the virtue of the swift march, and you get this one after your first successful crusade. And as you can see, it increases the movement of armies during a crusade by 50%. Now, that's what I wanted to do. I'm actually struggling to get that piece of code working, so that might change, but hopefully it does work the way I want it to do. This, then, is the virtue of chivalrous endeavour. So you earn chivalry from each successful crusade. So you unlock this after you have earned 3 crusade points, which you get from successful crusades and from upgrading your flags, banners. Then we get another one, Virtue of the Righteous Cage. So this provides a net ability that can be used in battle. And the next one's unlocked a little bit later, when the cost of errantry banner upgrades, which are these things, which you get from attacking certain races, they get cheaper with that. I think 40% reduction. Then the next virtue, Knightly Temper. So target unit gains bonuses, and these will be big bonuses to charge, morale, and physical resistance. And then the final one is Divine Rewards. So each errantry banner at tier 3, so each one of these can go from nothing to 1, 2, and 3. Each one of those at tier 3 will then generate chivalry per turn. So I found that when I'm playing Bretonnia, sometimes you're in the later game and you just want to get to the end, and you need that chivalry to meet your victory conditions, and this will help you reach that. So that these virtues are mixed or different for different lords. So everybody will have the virtue of the swift march. I believe everybody has the chivalrous endeavor, and everybody has the divine rewards. But it's two of them. So this one and this one are different for the Fey Enchantress, and different for Repents, and different for Alberic de Bordelot. So they've got unique. And I'm even adding in unique things for Mixu's lords as well. So all of the lords you can play as under Mixu's mod will also have their own virtues. So it's a lot of work, but it's something I want to do. I like to make mods that interact well with others, and that's so when you play with, the intention is when you play with one of Mixu's races, Mixu's lords like Artois, then this screen will have Artois' banners, and we'll have 2 of these will be different because it's different for that, and then you'll be able to access everything you can access in here for Artois, and Paravon, and so on and so on. So those are the mechanics there. So in here we see once again you've called a crusade 16 turns, blah 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 blah. So now I don't know if I've got the stuff for actually defeating the Lord in play. So I just I'll see if I do.
You seek the lady's favor
by attacking. I don't want to attack Marienburg. I want to attack them. So I'm going to have to.
Glory awaits.
I'm going to try and recruit some things. Bowman, give me peasant bowman. Best add that hero to the thingy.
The lady. My lady, honor me.
End the turn. So on the next turn, if I haven't broken anything recently, then it should pop up with the first question asking you what units you want. Okay, let's chat quickly. Maybe the Crusade Army has a small upkeep at the start. Does the Crusade Army disperse after the Crusade is successful? Yes, it will. It will disperse. I haven't decided whether it will all disappear at once or disperse maybe over 3 turns. Okay, so with each lord, at least the main lords, all of Mixu's lords will have the one preset army that they'll have. But the main lords, so Luon and Repants and so on and so on, will have 8 units that are predefined, and then the option for you to choose the other 12. But because I'm going to make the armies smaller, that won't be the case. So at the beginning, I'm going to change it so you'll just have those 8, and then as you progress through the campaign, you'll get more and more options. So right now, though, I need to choose foot squires and peasant bowmen. I'm actually working on a new UI for this screen because I'm not happy with just that option there. I'll take that. So I just need to quickly jump through a couple of turns because it's building in the background a Crusade army. Back to the chat briefly. Just wondering, are you going to put in Easter egg, the Children's Crusade by chance? No, Hammond, I had not thought of that. Maybe something to add down the line, because I do like to do a few updates on the things. Let's take the men at arms this time and go to the next. The Virtue mechanic is beautiful. Thank you. Hopefully when it's all functioning, half of them are functioning, half of them are not. Hopefully when it's functioning, it will work nice. Anthropos, this looks awesome. Thank you. What about Malabay? Poor boy always gets forgotten about. Any possibility to get the AI using this system in crusading against the players? I have no idea how the AI works and would prioritize these things. The best I could do is at certain intervals give them bonuses to mimic them using it, but to have them actually using the crusade, I don't know. I don't know how CA did that. I haven't seen... I haven't been able to discern from the scripts how the greenskins do their wars. So I think that's out of the realm of possibility, at least for the initial version. And I'm behind schedule with this because I intended to have it out a month ago. Brendan Nelson, hello, how you going? And gotcha from Aries. Alright, that should be the last one. So yeah, there we go. The Crusade army spawned. So as I said before, it's too big at the moment. So we got Jacqueline Mercer and let's see, this guy, the Greater Walik, he is always there. I think they're always there. There's a couple others always there. So let's go and use these to see if I can kill the greenskins. I think I've still got it hooked up. That if I defeat the greenskins, I'll get their banner. So I can just show you what the banner upgrade part looks like. How am I, Nelson? Brendan, rather. I am good, thank you. Just finished going through my thoughts on the Game 3 map. And just thought I'd quickly show off. That's going to be a close call, but yeah, I don't care if I lose anything. Quickly show off where the progress of the Bretonnia mod is. I expanded it from just the Crusade mechanic to have individual mechanics for every lord as well, just like I did with the dwarves. So, lots more work. Let's occupy. Alright, errantry wars, banner awarded. Okay. Thank you very much. The banner bit is working. So you can see as your turns tick down, that the icon for the target faction disappears, and the same applies in here. So it tells you got 12 left. So we can see I now have the Greenskins banner, Gork's Grizzled Gesture. So for those of you who've been noticing my community posts every now and then, these are the names. Those are the names. This is where they'll be used. Those banner names everybody's been suggesting. So this is gained when defeating greenskins. So when you click on the button, it'll show you details of the upgrade. So Gork's Grizzled Gesture starts off with -5 upkeep for men-at-arms and +10 armor for men-at-arms and foot squires. So if I just quickly jump out and look at men-at-arms, then we should see, yes, we can see that their armor is increased. Let's have a look at the other army. Oh, nobody's live in the other army. Alright. So going back into that screen, and that's right, the upkeep is reduced. So the banner can be upgraded by spending Chivalry to gain the following bonuses. So if we upgrade, instead of having these, we'll have these. So you can upgrade here if you have enough chivalry. Unfortunately, I don't have enough. How much do I have? What's my chivalry? Only 12. Okay. Let's see if I can gain some more from a battle.
You honor me.
Might be able to.
Seers.
Oh, I might be able to get some from some technology as well. Come on. So I don't have the code for getting rid of... Oh. No, I can't lose. Oh, I think retreating takes away chivalry. Bollocks.
Do you wish the
That's going to
ladies'
cost me
favor?
chivalry, isn't it? Yeah, take your trade agreement. Thank you very much. And... oh no, it didn't take away. Okay, good. I don't care about control.
King Lewin Leoncoeur.
Alright, you up there. So I haven't got the code in place for getting rid of the Crusade army, which is helpful at the moment.
I have seen the way.
Strength and honor.
Come on. Let me select that one. Let me select that one.
Your behest?
You.
I...
I'll lose. Alright, bugger it.
Break them!
Alright, unfortunately, I don't have the chivalry to show you the upgrade path, but you can upgrade it to that, and then there's that changes to a 2, and then you can upgrade it again. And each time the chivalry goes up a little bit more. But so that's going to be the main mechanic for all Bretonnian factions, including Mixu's mods lords. And you can attack. Let's see, they who is it? You cannot attack Bretonnia, and I don't have one for Beastmen, but you can earn. Let's see, it says Greenskins, Dwarfs, Empire. Who's that first one? Dark Elves. So Dark Elves, Dwarves, Empire, Greenskins, High Elves, Kislev, Lizardmen, Norska. Then I think it's Southern Realms, Skaven, Tomb Kings, Vampire Coast, Vampire Counts, and Wood Elves. Okay, yep. That's all the ones that you can get the banners for. And each one gives different upgrades to different units. So that's that. And here is Luon's mechanic, and only Luon. So fealty of the realm. Shows the fealty that each Bretonnian realm has with King Luon and the bonuses provided. So this is a new screen as well. Completely new UI, just taking bits of what's in the game. So as you fight battles, you earn Steam, which you can then spend on gaining fealty with the different Bretonnian factions. So we've got all the factions that are currently in the game here, even ones that are not playable, such as Paravon and Leonis, and ones that are down in Araby. So when you hover over these guys, it'll tell you spend 50 Steam to unlock the next tier. And the next tier will give you -5% for Royal Hippogriff Knights and Spearmen. And then this one's slightly different, and then jump over to this one, slightly different. So let's just purchase that. So we're now on tier 1, and we don't have any more esteem, but we do now have it telling us what's next. So each of these will have different ones, and at some point there should be a mechanic in place for when you've reached enough of these, you'll get army unlocks as well. But that is Luon Leoncoeurs. These are going to be upgraded after the first release, but these will be extra things. So let's get out of Leon, and I'll just show you the Fey Enchantress, and I'll stop there. Because Rapunzel's mechanic is not in a state to be playable, and Alberic's, I'm still changing the UI. Campaign, a new campaign, Empires, continue. The Fey Enchantress. So while Luon's mechanic, his unique mechanic, is about buffing your troops. The Fey Enchantress's mechanic is all about army abilities. So she doesn't have anything that buffs any troops. Instead, she has 8 spells, which she'll have access to. Now they use the visual effects spells that already exist, of course, because I don't have the ability to create new ones. But the spells and the effects they do will be unique. So you've got 8 spells, which are unlocked at different times and can be upgraded. So we'll get a better understanding when we see the screen. Once she's loaded up and I've gone through her stuff, I think I'll end the stream there. Actually got some stuff I got to get to. I actually went a little bit longer than I intended. But I'd like to thank anybody who tuned in to hear my ramblings on the map. Thank you very much for the discussion. Had more people show up than I anticipated, so that was great to know there's people out there who wanted to engage with the old man Grey Tiger. Yeah, hopefully this will load very soon. So I don't, unfortunately, have any idea at this stage when this will be released. Now that we know that Game 3 is out in February, it'd be nice if I could get this done before Christmas. So if I do decide to try and rush it out before Christmas, I'm probably going to have to cut some corners. But that might be worth it. Maybe if I release with just 2 of the Lord's mechanics? I don't know. We'll see. XX Big XX 420. No what? Ares 106. I think there should be some drawbacks for the Crusades. It's not like the players need more help to fight the AI. The way it works now, it seems way too much of an advantage. Yes, drawbacks. Yes. If you fail the Crusade, it's going to have penalties. What drawback you'd have when you're crusading? Well, the Crusade army that gets created draws from your peasant pool. So if you're using your economy based mostly on farms, that's going to be quite a hit. So that's one drawback. What other drawbacks could I introduce when they're crusading? We could have, I could perhaps try and lower order in the realm, in your provinces, or actually growth. Growth makes more sense. If you take a hit to growth when your Crusader army is away, because of a lot of your men are off fighting, there's not going to be much in the way of baby making. So actually make a note of that one. That's a good idea that you. It's a good thing you brought up there, Ares. Now, where did I put my pen? Crusade.
Blessings on you and your lands, wise and fey enchantress. Your kingdom is in peril and has need of your strength. Dark clouds are brewing abroad. The elves of Athelloren grow bold of late. Their expansionist desires see them encroaching beyond the limits of the forest. Hold your own against their ilk. The nearby mountains
so at least there's a trade-off.
With greenskins. As ever they battle. My lord.
Okay. Alright. So, once again, she's got the same stuff up here. Nothing there changes because it's the same for everybody. But when we come in here, you can see she's got the same 4, but this one grayed out because I haven't done her virtues yet. And no Crusade currently active, so it's pretty much the same screen, except it's got her banner instead of Luen's, and that changes for every faction. But here's her unique mechanic, the Lady's Blessing. So it shows army abilities which have been unlocked by the player and available in battle. So once again, another new UI, which is my favorite part, I guess, of making these. That's why I get the UIs done quickly, and then the rest of it takes a bloody age. So, as you... Can I do this as you fight battles? No, this one's not based on the battles you fight. This one's based on turns, I think. Yes, every 10 turns you will get a new blessing. And you get to spend that blessing on a new spell or an upgrade. So the first blessing that you get, you can choose either a Blessed Growth spell, or you can choose the Blessed Missile spell. When you get your second blessing, about 10 turns later, you can choose to get the Net of Consecration, or the Lady's Touch, or you can go back and get the one of these that you didn't select the first time. And then when you get your third blessing, you get another option, which is you can choose whichever spells you didn't unlock, or you can choose to, I think that's an upgrade. Yeah, so this is a 1, a 2, and a 3 on the Blessed Growth. So you can choose to upgrade your Blessed Growth, which will mean it might last for longer, might do more damage. I haven't mapped out exactly what every single one's doing. But so you can upgrade that 1, 2, 3 times. So the net one here is a little bit different. So at the fourth blessing, instead of upgrading it, you actually get to unlock an extra usage. So unlock additional use of the Net of Consecration. And then that's the same. So you can get, instead of 1, you'll end up with 3 per battle. And then with the missile, it's a mix. So you've got here, you can upgrade it by level, but then this one is unlock another use. Then there's another upgrade, then there's another use, then there's another upgrade, and so on. So as you go up, of course, the spells get more interesting or more powerful. So we've got Lady's Touch, which is sort of a healing spell. We've got a blast spell here. We've got a summoning spell to summon some eagles. Favor of the Lady, that's a buff for your troops. And this is a kind of Comet of Cassandra type thing. So 8 different spells or army abilities which can be unlocked for use by all your armies. And you get to choose exactly how you want to progress them. So if you find that you don't like this spell after you've used it, then don't upgrade it any further, just concentrate on the other ones. So this one I feel is it's nice to have this be completely different to Luen's. Because with my dwarf mod, I felt that with Grombrindal and Thorgrim, their mechanics were quite samey. So I tried to do something completely different with the Fey Enchantress. And Alberic's is different as well. While his does give bonuses to your troops, it's to specific troops, and it's based on faith. So whether your people believe in the Lady or believe in Manan will let you have different troops and lower the effectiveness of some and increase the effectiveness of others. So I'm very happy with how this UI turned out. And hopefully it plays as well as I have it playing in my mind. But I think that's enough of showing off stuff. Unfortunately, this one doesn't function yet. But anyway, I'll wrap up, I think. So I would like to thank everybody.